A perfect world is one where people have the freedom to work from anywhere. As we edge closer to that dream thanks to EOR, we aim to evolve beyond the complexities of cross-country payroll processing. Our global guide is designed to achieve that vision and help organizations go borderless. Evolve Beyond Borders is proud to introduce a panel of country experts to share their insights on global payroll and compliance, insights from experts around the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this exciting virtual panel discussion on navigating payroll complexities in a borderless work environment. As we all know, managing payroll can be a challenging task, especially when dealing with a diverse workforce across the globe. But what if I told you that there is a solution to make this task so much easier? Introducing Neeyamo Global Guide, the ultimate centralized repository of information for everything you need to manage your international payroll and hire new talent around. We are honored to have with us today a panel of esteemed payroll experts from Switzerland, Netherlands, and Mexico for this panel discussion. Fabrice Terrien, payroll expert from Switzerland, Llyod Misjan, payroll expert from Netherlands, and Francisco Javier, payroll expert from Mexico. They're all here today to share their valuable insights and experiences on the unique aspects of payroll processing in their respective countries that employers and employees need to be cognizant of. This is a unique opportunity to gain valuable knowledge and understanding of the complexities of global payroll and how to navigate them. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be informed and enlightened as we dive into the world of global payroll. A warm round of applause to our panelists. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let us begin with you, Francisco. Can you just give us a brief introduction about yourself and what got you into payroll and what made you interested in this field?
Of course, thank you for the invitation, and for me it's a pleasure to stay here in this panel. My name is Francisco Betancourt. I am a partner in a local firm, and I am advising Neeyamo team also. I am an accountant and I am a lawyer, and the most important thing is that we were working a lot of time as an auditors and advisors of payroll process in Mexico.
Thank you so much, Francisco. So let's just go from Mexico all the way across the pond to the Netherlands. Llyod, how about you? What got you into payroll and what made you interested? Can you just introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Llyod Misjan. I stay in the Netherlands. I'm doing payroll for more than 20 years. What got me into payroll? I try to bring payroll beyond with my background as an accountant.
Thank you, Llyod. So let's make this small and short journey from the Netherlands over to Switzerland. Over to you, Fabrice. What got you into payroll, and can you just introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So first of all, thank you for arranging this event, and I'm very happy to be participating to this wonderful event. So I'm French. I'm based here in Geneva. I've been working in a payroll environment for the last 10 years now. And I've been working in different kind of companies, from large multinational companies to very small and local companies in Switzerland, of course, in England, as well as France. And what brings me into payroll is that I've been working in the HR spec for 20 years, and I've been dealing with marketing of HR, meaning that I've been involved in talent acquisition most of the time, and broaderly all the HR areas which covers the life of the staff in a company. And As a matter of fact, I've been in charge of payroll at some point, and the more time I spent into payroll, into analyzing, into calculating, the more I was into it. So at some point, it's been now 10 years, I'm completely dedicated to payroll, compensation, benefits. And I have to say now, thanks to everything that's happening worldwide, the way we handle payroll gets much more complicated than it used to be before. And I'm really glad to be in that job, because it's let's say it used to be a very straightforward way of handling things before. Now it's getting more creative, since we face situations which are really different from what we used to know and what we used to do before. Work from home and so on globally. So it's a very interesting situation, and payroll has a lot to play in this situation.
Thank you, Fabrice. Now that we've got the introductions out of the way, let me just start off with something straightforward. So when it comes to being a payroll professional, right, the qualifications required in different countries are different. So let me just open up the floor to everyone.
But I can start. See, there's not much to say in Switzerland, as there's no specific diplomas or requirement to handle payroll. Let's say there's HR specifications, which we call in Switzerland the HR brevet or the HR certificate. And in that kind of, this is a university degree that you can go for in Switzerland. And in these degrees, it covers all the HR areas. And I've been following these degrees. And in that spectrum, you've got to go through different kinds, such as compensation and benefits, such as HR related to law, such as talent acquisition and so on contract and administration and so on. At some point, you go down the payroll part and social insurances. But apart from that, there's no specific diplomas related to payroll in Switzerland.
In the Netherlands, we have some academic titles, just like RSA, Registered Salary Administrator, or the RPP, Registered Payroll Professional. And so in Netherlands, yes, there are studies for that.
That's interesting. Francisco, is there something in Mexico?
In Mexico, we have a very important mix of careers that can work in the processing payrolls. There are many firms, of course. For processing a payroll, there is not any kind of requirements, only the experience. I know many persons that maybe are not an accountants or lawyers or administrators, but they have a lot of experience with payrolls and they can do that.
When it comes to just managing and processing payroll, is there anything specific in your country that you would want to remark about or talk about?
We have the obligation to make a payment of the profits, of the 10% of the profits of the company to the employees. So, for example, we have many clients that comes that are investors from other countries. We have clients from Germany, we have clients from Spain, we have a lot of clients from USA because it's very near. We have clients from South America, and when they come to Mexico and they have a profit in their company, and you mentioned of your profit you have to pay 10% to your employees, they are thinking, what? Are you crazy? That is my profit. I am working for that. Well, yes, the unions in Mexico and the rights for the employees, according to our federal constitution, for our labor law, has this consideration for the employees. This is maybe a social benefit, very complicated to understand, but I haven't seen another country that has this obligation. So that's why Mexico has many particular difference with many countries in the
In the Netherlands, everything is centralized. We have the tax authorities, and every year they come up with new figures and new obligations. We have different taxes, but you have payroll taxes and income taxes. And all the other taxes are, let's say, for a city or a part of the country. But most of all, we are dealing with, let's say, the payroll tax, which is the, let's say, the first stage of the income tax. And we also have social securities. But in the past, let's say 10 years ago, you had a lot of social securities that were being filled by the employer and the employee. But we are facing a situation where all these social securities are becoming an employer's part. And we have, let's say, we have a special rate tax, and we have the normal tax that we pay every month. But if, let's say, for example, some employers here in Holland also pay, let's say, because the results of the company, they pay at the end of the year, they pay a 13-month or bonus, which is also 10% or 20% of the profit of the company. And for that payment, you have to pay it with the special rate tax, which sometimes start from 34% until 50%.
That's absolutely interesting. So basically, what you're telling me is steer clear of the Mexico and Netherlands if I have to start at a company anytime soon if I want to keep all of my profits. So that's what I'm getting at.
We don't such percentage on the profit has been going through the payroll for staff. So definitely not the case here. But before going to jumping to the unicity of Switzerland, and we have, I just wanted to emphasize that at least there's something common for payroll, because when I look at the three of us, excepting you, Shihari, you're the only one not wearing glasses. On us, payroll.
Yeah.
Yes, you need the glasses, right?
I don't know. There's nothing in the rule for that in Switzerland. At least I don't know how is it in Mexico or in Netherlands, but we don't. It's not a requirement to wear glasses to be working for payroll. So I said that in Switzerland, let's say the two specificities we have would be related to global way of handling payroll in Switzerland, and the second one would be a bit related to Mexico, where we have 26 different states in Switzerland. So imagine in such a small country, I guess it's the smallest country, one of the smallest country in Europe. We have 26 different ways of handling payroll. In that regards, HR rules would be different from one state to the other. For example, in Geneva, we have different bank holidays than it is in Zurich. If you're on the other side of Switzerland, which is not that far, it's only 400 kilometers far from. But you speak a different language. You speak German over there, while in Geneva you speak French, and you've got different tax scale as well. So people who will earn the same salary in Geneva will not pay the same tax in Geneva, while as it would be in Zurich. So this creates for payroll a complexity that even though you are the same company, you need to handle the payroll differently depending on where your staff are based in Switzerland. So this needs
So a person who lives in Geneva will pay maybe more or less tax than a person who stays somewhere else in Switzerland.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
So that's complexity.
It is. Yeah. Don't tell me. And also, you got to even though the family status is the same, it would be different, and you will have some social security contributions different as well. And Switzerland is based on again because of these different rules of the different states. You've got to register your company with insurances for the basic social contributions as well as a pension fund, and you have different insurances which are registered in different states. So again, it creates some social contributions which can differ from one state to the other. You've got statutory regulations which are covering the whole country, the whole 26 different states, but in some in some regards, you have different contributions. For instance, in Geneva, we've got a maternity statutory contribution, which is not the case in different states. So this different 26 cantons, as we call it in Switzerland, creates a really unique way of handling payroll. And there's a second topic I wanted to mention. I already mentioned quickly. It's that Switzerland is, though it is a very small country, it is very centralized in Europe, and it is very famous for money and chocolate, of course, but it's also very famous for tax facilities. So we have a lot of companies here which are headquartered for EMEA, for Europe, for the rest of the world. So at the end of the day, when it comes to payroll, you have to be aware of how you have to get at least the basic idea of how it works and how it's handled elsewhere in Europe and in the rest of the world. And lastly, you've got a lot of staff which are commuting from one place to the other, still working for the same company, but because of having a lot of global companies based here in Switzerland with a headquarters in Switzerland, the staff will move from one country to the other. So you've got to really think about how you handle social security, taxes, when you have a staff working from one place, one country to the other.
Okay.
That was certainly an enlightening discussion. So thank you, all of you, for just sharing the unique aspects of payroll in Mexico, Netherlands, and Switzerland. That was an interesting discussion. So let us just dig a little deeper into each country to understand the intricacies of processing payroll. So let us begin with Mexico. And we have Francisco here to talk us a little bit more about it. So Francisco, what is the most commonly followed payroll cycle in Mexico? Is it monthly? Is it weekly? Is it bi-weekly? What is the most commonly followed pay cycle in Mexico?
Regarding to the payroll cycle in Mexico, we have a very different process according to the kind of organization or the kind of company. For example, usually companies of industry, they have the obligation to pay in a weekly basis. But also, according to Mexican labor law, the payments could be weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. Bi-weekly and monthly refers, for example, for companies of services, of professional service, and the companies with the low risk can pay in a monthly basis. Usually the payments, but it's not an obligation, the payments are made in the 15th day and the last days of each month. But the company can establish the specific period of payments according to its internal policies. Also, it's very important to consider that we have another additional payment on December. That payment regards to the Christmas bonus. In Mexico, it means aguinaldo by its acronym in Spanish. But this Christmas bonus is calculating regarding to the 15 working days according to the allowance of the employees based on the number of days of the year. So here, for making a resume, the payroll process has to be in this specific basis, but the internal policies of the companies can maybe specific another different periods, because there are many forms of work, there are many forms of payments, and the only thing that you have to respect are the limits established by the labor law. But of course, the companies can adopt the policies that they consider, and these policies also has to be considering the labor obligations and other tax obligations according to the laws in Mexico.
So, Francesco, that's about paying people, paying employees in Mexico. So, what about hiring people? Is there any specific documents that is required?
Today, there are many new obligations, and the laws in Mexico are changing every day. For example, this I think is very important to mention that today in January 2023. There is a new obligations or a new right for all the employees in Mexico. The new right is regarding to the days of vacations. So regarding to hiring, when you hire an employee, usually the employee has specific benefits according to the law. You require specific documentations, because the employee requires the social security number, requires the tax ID, and of course internal information according to the internal policies of each company. But when you make the hiring of an employee, you present a feeling or an advice. You feel an advice for the social security in order to send the information that the employee is working in my company. For example, this advice integrates a specific factor. This specific factor for paying social security, for example, regards to the salary, regards to the number of days of vacations, and here is the very important thing, that the change of the law that I am going to mention, and also includes the Christmas bonus, and also includes the in Mexico there is a benefit of the 25% of a bonus vacations according to the number of vacations. But you are talking about 12 days. That is the new obligation. Of course, the 25% of the bonus vacations will be calculated on the basis of 12 days and not 6 days. That is, it was the law the law of 2022. And this all this documentation, all this information has to be presented for hiring a new employee.
Thank you so much, Francisco, for that insightful information about the payroll and the payroll processing in Mexico. So now let's hop over the pond to Netherlands, where we have Llyod. Llyod, thank you so much for taking the time. So as far as the employee life cycle is concerned, what do you think as in terms of payroll, what is the biggest aspect of Netherlands that you want to focus on and that you think that employees should be aware of?
It is obligated in the Netherlands that you keep your data for 7 years. But you can make an agreement with the tax authorities about keeping it or 5 or 7 years. And what is very important is that when there is an investigation or audit, that it should be kept so that these authorities can go to the data. It should be accessible. For certain functions where integrity is very important, especially data sensitive functions at financial institutions or bank insurance, pension companies, or at the government, such employers are even required to conduct a background check of their employees in various forms. So you have, let's say that your CV that you are presenting will be checked by a potential candidate and by an authority called CV. Okay, they are checking all. They are doing a track record about your what your experience is and what you are mentioning on your CV, if it's that it's correct. And also some candidate employees background can be checked by an authority called AIVD and MIVD. These are when you have let's say a function at the government, then also they will check your background. And also when you join let's say a financial a bank or a pension insurance, then you have this authority called AFM, is the authority financial mark. They also check your if you are in debt and then you are vulnerable, you know. Also, what I mentioned about new employees, you can also go to your let's say to your municipality and ask for a statement of conduct, a VOG, verklaring omtrent verdrag.
Thanks a lot for that, Llyod. That certainly was a lot of information with regards to the authorities that you need to keep in mind when you're conducting background checks, especially when you're looking to hire in the Netherlands. So from the Netherlands, let's move over to Switzerland and look at what you need to be mindful of when it comes to processing payroll and managing your talent in Switzerland. So I have Fabrice here with me. Fabrice, so what do you think is the biggest thing that you might want to highlight on when it comes to employees and paying employees in Switzerland?
Well, first of all, in terms of what we can compare, the payroll cycle. So in Switzerland, most of the companies, they pay once a month. Most of the companies on the 25th. So it's very regular and very precise in that regard. What I can highlight also is that, as I said earlier, the way we handle payroll is very related to the 26 different cantons, different states we have. And in that regard, for instance, there's a minimum wage that we mention in many different countries. And in Switzerland, for instance, we don't have a minimum wage for the whole country, but we have a minimum wage regulations for 4 out of the 26 different states. So in Geneva, in Ticino, in Jura, 3 different cantons, and I'm forgetting one, Neuchâtel, I guess, if I remember right. In these 4 different states, you've got a minimum wage, while on the others, there's no. So at the end of the day, in Switzerland, again, you have different paths and different way of handling regulations when it goes down to social security and taxes. In Switzerland, the unemployment rates have really decreased recently. And as a matter of fact, here you've got it on the screen. Before, up to 2022, we had an additional percentage for salaries above this figure of 148,200. And now this has been cancelled for 2023. So this is kind of things which are moving in Switzerland. And I also wanted to highlight the way we handle people working from home, people working from another part of the globe while you registered with your company in Switzerland. And so far, since these topics have been put on the table a lot due to the COVID. As a matter of fact, people have been asked to work from home, though there's no specific rules on the specific policies that are already put in place as such, as we could consider here in Switzerland. So it's a lot related to the company, how the company would handle it with its staff. So as long as your staff is physically based in Switzerland, you would register him in Switzerland for social security, payroll tax reasons, and so on. And if you have a staff who's moving from one country to the other, still in the same company, then again, it will be a decision which would be made by the company, how the company would handle the social security registration and the tax registration. At the end of the day, when you have an employee physically based in Switzerland, there would be some agreements in between European countries. We call it the COC, the A1 form, which would enable a staff on loan from a company who's moving from one country to the other to be registered in a single country in Europe. So the tax and the social security is handled in that country. And while he's working on deployed in Switzerland, as a payroll, we wouldn't deduct these social securities, having said that they're already handled in the home country, but we will still have to deduct the tax at source because of the people being based and physically based in Switzerland. So these are really specifics and really particular rules to Switzerland. The tax reasons is a very big topic. And another example I wanted to mention, again, due to COVID and due to the fact that people are working from home, since Switzerland is a small country, very centralized in Europe, we have 4 different borders. We have borders with Germany, Austria, Italy, France, to mention the main one. And here in Geneva, for instance, the border is France, and we have a lot of staff working in Geneva, but based in France. So they are personally registered with an address in France. They're living in France, and they just cross the border every day to work from Geneva. And for them, we've had regulations so far before COVID that stipulated that this staff would be able to be registered in a country in terms of social security, as long as it doesn't work, it doesn't spend more than 25% of the time in that country. Now, because of the COVID, as a matter of fact, when you stay and working from home, this 25% of the time you spend in the country you are working in is completely balanced differently. So governments from France and Switzerland had to discuss, communicate a lot to get to an agreement, and this is still ongoing. There haven't been an agreement set in stone yet, but this is kind of situations which highlight and really put up in light that now, because of the of people working from home, working globally, we really have to think about these rules. And it's certainly the beginning of this questioning but certainly not the end, as we tend to work from many different countries for the same company. So now HR people and certainly payroll have to deal with this kind of situations and with these kind of questions. And Switzerland is already on the case.
And that basically concludes today's proceedings. So I would like to welcome back all of the payroll experts from Switzerland, from Netherlands, and from Mexico back on here. First of all, to thank you for taking the time amidst your busy schedules. I know the start of the year is always a very crazy time for payroll professionals because a lot of changes happen in payroll, especially with regards to the taxes. So thank you for taking the time. Neeyamo would like to thank all of the panelists for sharing their valuable insight and their experience. And I hope that the audience had an enlightening discussion that they found informative and useful.
Thank you. Thank you.